Hi, this is Catherine, and I play as NorthernPrincessYue on Tumblr. I got 100 followers recently, very quickly actually, but there are a lot of role players on Tumblr and I get followed by like all of them apparently, so yeah. Anyway, because I reached 100 followers, I decided to make this video where my followers could ask me questions, and so here it is. Okay, so the first question I got was from Sugar Queen Katara, who is also Shannon, and I actually got the same question from Freedom and Eyebrows, who is Katie, and they asked what I like about Yue, and I'm going to say that I really appreciate her strength of character. She gave her life, at least canon-wise, not how I'm playing her, she gave her life to pretty much save the world, and that's pretty damn intense, and she didn't really hesitate. Like, the only hesitation that she had was because Sokka grabbed her and was like, dude, no, you don't gotta do this, we can live. And she's like, dude, no, gotta do this, bro, gotta do it. And so she did it, and she obviously was not, it wasn't exactly like a happy moment for her, but I mean, she had to. There was no other option that at least anybody else there could conceive of, and so she gave her life and became the moon spirit. That's really what I love about her, but it also ties into what I kind of hate about her, and it is that she, in the show, never really had a moment of selfishness. I mean, in a way she kind of did with this whole like Sokka thing, but on the other hand, he was kind of pushing it too. So it isn't like it was like all on her. It was like she wanted to be with Sokka and he wanted to be with her, but she was engaged to some douche nozzle, and so Sokka's like, oh, we can just be friends. Yeah, right, Sokka, right. And I mean, when she realized that they couldn't, like, obviously, like, it wasn't working out, like, as a just being friends, she tried to end it, and would have succeeded if she hadn't died, I guess. Well, technically she succeeded by dying, so whatever. Anyway, moving on. I was asked by Shannon, who is Sugar Queen Katara, if it's easy or difficult to play Yue. And I'm gonna say a little bit of both. The easiest thing about her comes from the fact that I have tweaked her character a little bit so that instead of her always being about other people and duty and whatever, because she got to live in my alternate universe version of her, she realized that she needed to do more for herself, and so she's standing up for herself more. And she's allowing herself a little bit more selfishness, and my thinking is, or my interpretation of my muse's thinking is that she, or at least maybe this was part of her argument for her father, how is she going to be able to stand up for her people if she can't even stand up for herself? So that was her argument in my headcanon of the version that I'm playing her. And she is difficult to play because she doesn't really have a sassy bone in her body. She is still very nice and very humble and very not me. I'm kind of mean, and I'll notice like somebody will put up something that's open or in a thread that I'm in, their character will say something and I want to reply with like a witty retort, but my witty retorts are always really mean, and Yue is not mean, and so sometimes I'm just like, I have to kind of take a step back and be like, Catherine, you're not playing yourself, you're playing this person who is not at all you. So it is challenging, but I welcome the challenge. This next question was also from Sugar Queen Katara, and she asked what my favorite Avatar The Last Airbender fanfiction is. And this was really difficult for me because I haven't read any fanfiction in quite some time, and the fanfiction that I do read always has to be complete or a one-shot, which pretty much makes it complete by default as long as like the whole one-shot is posted. Because I've had a problem in the past where I'm reading a really excellent fan fiction and I get to the end of a chapter and I realize there are no more chapters, but it hasn't ended, but it hasn't been updated in like 3 years, and so there's really no hope of it ever being updated, so I can never know what's gonna happen. And so I know there are a lot of really excellent fan fictions out there for this fandom, and I'm not going to read them until they're complete, no matter how freaking good they are, no matter how much I really want to read them. So yeah, showing me some restraint. However, some fan fictions did come to mind, but because it's been so long I couldn't choose a favorite because I couldn't remember precisely how they made me feel anymore, just that I really enjoyed them. So I have a list. So I'm just going to do them in alphabetical order. So the first one is a one-shot. It is called Blasphemy, and it is by Masako Moonshade. Basically it's about, I'm pretty sure it's based very soon after the events of Boiling Rock Part 2 in book 3. And it's kind of, it's about Azula, but it's from Tylee's perspective, and so I just really appreciated the interesting insight into Tylee's character where Azula's involved, and it was just really interesting, and I definitely recommend it. Let's see, and then next we have Tempest in a Teacup. It is 22 chapters long. It is written by AKA Vertigo, and it's an alternate universe where at some point Katara is kidnapped from, I don't remember why, I don't think it's necessary, she's kind of kidnapped. I think maybe Iroh like found her or something, like hurt, and she was kidnapped, but whatever. Anyway, she is taken to the Fire Nation. She's basically raised by Iroh, so she's raised around Zuko, and it leads all the way up until the beginning of canon book 1. But of course there are differences because it's an alternate universe, but it's really good, and it has some really great insight into their characters and into the interactions. It is Zutara centric, so it's also angsty. I think it made me cry at the end, but I can't remember. There haven't been a lot of fics that have made me cry, but that may have been one of them. Next we have 13 Nights by No Jojo Jo, right? No Jojo Jo, yeah. And it is a one-shot. It's Zutara centric, of course, and sorry, I'm like reading, trying to remember what these things are about because I liked them, but I haven't read them in so long. So it's an alternate universe where the events of book 3 never happened, as in Zuko never joined the gang. However, he does become Fire Lord at some point, and I don't remember why or how. I don't even know if it was explained. I just remember it's an arranged marriage thing between Zuko and Katara, and it's very smutty. It's all about smut. Like each of the 13 nights, sexy time. But yeah, or at least I think maybe there were a couple nights where there were no sexy times, but there may have been masturbation. So I don't know. I don't remember. I just remember I really liked it. So, but if you don't like smut, you probably won't like it. And the final one is actually not fanfic so much as a poem. It's called The Tiger, and it's by Rashaka, if I'm pronouncing that right. R-A-S-H-A-K-A. And it's actually, it's a poem, and the tiger is Ursa. And it's about Ursa's relationship with Zuko and the events that caused her banishment. So yeah, those are all very good, and I recommend them, even though I have a hard time remembering what exactly happened in them. I just remember I really enjoyed them, and I think that other people will too. And well, not the final question by Sugar Queen Katara, but her other questions were about my rabbit, and I want to get to those later when he's not quite as tired and I can have him cameo for you. Anyway, her final Avatar-based question was, who's your favorite Avatar character? And I, hands down, have to say Zuko. Well, I don't have to, but I will because he is. He's an amazing character. His development from book 1 through book 3 is just momentous. It's huge. He starts out being angry and hurt and but you see these tidbits where he's got a good heart, and he just has so much anger and he doesn't seem to know how to channel it, but he has this purpose in life. His purpose is to capture the Avatar because he has to restore his honor, and really I think it's more about restoring his father's love and faith and respect in him, but whatever. Anyway, so he does this, and then in book 2 we see he's an outcast. He's basically, his father obviously doesn't want him. He's on the run from his sister, and he still has all of this anger pent up in him, but you see these really good sides to him, and you see that he's really a good person, and this is really where most of his journey to find himself comes in. You see he learns more about people from the Earth King because he doesn't have the resources from his father anymore to give him a way around ever really going to the Earth Kingdom, and so he sees how hard it is on these people. He becomes a refugee himself, and he really learns how hard this war has been for people. And so in book 3, when he finally gets what he thought he always wanted, it's not at all the way he envisioned it, and he realizes this, and it's eating away at him, and so eventually he does what was the right thing all along. And it's just really amazing to watch this process of him following a destiny that first he thinks is set out for him, and then following the destiny that he sets for himself. And I think it's really great, and honestly I know Aang is the main character, but Zuko's the hero of this story in my opinion, and I'm sure anybody who really loves Aang will probably disagree with me, but that's just how I feel, and that's fine if you don't feel the same way as me. It's just, I have a bias against Aang because I hate children, but that's just me. But yeah, I really like Zuko, and seeing his progression and his awkwardness with girls and everything else, it was just really fabulous, and it's just, I love Zuko. That's all there is to it. Plus, damn, that's all I gotta say about that. Okay, so this next question is from ex-Firelord Ozai, and he asked, did you have any other possible choices for Yue's story? And while the answer to that is technically yes, I feel emotionally that it's a no. The reason being that my only other options of which I was aware at the time, and even now, were that I could play her through, before you ever see her in book 1, and play her through until the moment before she died in book 1. And my other option was to play her just as the moon spirit after she was dead, and that just really, those options felt very constricting for me, and so I didn't really want to consider them. So I came up with the alternate idea where instead of her dying to become the moon spirit isn't murdered by Zhao, but is nearly fatally injured by him because Iroh happened to step in just before the fatal blow to kind of redirect Zhao's fire punch, thus still causing Tui to become injured severely, but also giving way for Yue to survive it as well. So yeah, so she healed the fish with her life energy, but she didn't have to die for it because it was still alive. So it wasn't a life for a life at that point. And so I thought that was really cool. Or maybe not that cool, but it has opened up so much more for me to be able to play this character than I would have previously had. So I'm pretty smitten with it. So Ozai then asked, if you had chosen a young version of Hama, who would you ship her with? And I guess I should give some background on this. Before I chose Yue, I had like a whole host of characters that I could have played, and eventually I narrowed it down to Yue and a younger version of Hama, which I would have found some alternate universe kind of thing to be able to play her as the same ages as like the other characters, but instead I went with Yue because it seemed easier to put her into other people's storylines that way. Anyway, so this is really hard. I would have played her young. I mean, I probably could have played her old for some purposes or whatever, just like I sometimes play Yue, or I am open to the idea of playing Yue as the moon spirit, but I would have played her young because old people, man. Who would I ship her with? That is such a hard question because she's a little crazy and manipulative, and I don't really see her in a healthy relationship with anybody. But in the end, I think it would have to be with Jet, because then they could both go off into the sunset hating firebenders forever together. Okay, so Ozai's final question was, if Yue had a pet from the Avatar world, what would it be? And I don't know the answer to that, if it was considered canon, but Shantara, Sugar Queen Katara, gave Yue a pet. I gave her, when she was going through her like cat craze, which I think may just always be an underlying ongoing thing, but when it was really big, I submitted a picture of a feline to her, as in Yue found a cat in a box and gave her the cat. And so she reciprocated by giving Yue a rabbit, and it's really cute. Like, it's a fawn colored Netherland dwarf, so if you want to look that up on Google or whatever, but in true Avatar spirit, I called it a hamster rabbit, and her name, I have it written down here, is Koume, and I probably mispronounced that, but whatever, it's Koume, so I'm just saying Koume, or Kaume, probably Koume, but I don't know how it's pronounced, not really, so, and so yeah, so that is Yue's pet. It is a hamster rabbit, and it is friggin' adorable. The Madame Fussy Britches, aka Bean, aka Bean Tara, has asked me, how are you so gorgeous and why do you remind me of an elven maiden? I don't understand. And I guess that's two questions, but they're related, so whatever. I'm just gonna say that my dad has a really strong gene pool. And I know this because I have two other siblings that I've met that have different mothers than me, and while my mother was probably platinum blonde and whatever when she was little, no, she had like really long platinum blonde hair, my dad has always had platinum blonde hair. My mom's turned like dark blonde, light brown or whatever as she got older, but I have a brother who is a few days younger than me, and his mother is like as Italian as they get. Dark hair, that dark olive skin, and whatever, and he looks like me, except a dude and tall. Seriously. It's like, oh, so your mom's like super dark and Italian, but you're super Scandinavian looking. That's because my dad's gene pool is like crazy strong despite the laws of biology. So yeah, I am just gonna say that. I look like my father. With the elven maiden thing, I think it may have something to do with the fact that I have dressed as an elf, a Middle-earth style elf, for Halloween on a couple of different occasions. And Exhibit A. Anyway, that probably explains that. But yeah, science. explains the first part, and thank you, I'm glad that you think I'm attractive, and I probably sound really vain through like this whole like answer, but whatever. I mean, I'm an attractive girl. I may not be like the hottest hottie ever, but I don't need to be the hottest hottie ever as long as I've got enough going on, because heaven knows that I could stand to be a little smarter, but if I can't have that, may as well be a looker, right? And the Madam Fussy Britches also asked another question that Katie and Bean both asked me, why Yue? And oh, I kind of answered that earlier. Oops. So basically I chose Yue because I had the choice between her and Hama, and I chose Yue initially because there weren't a lot of Yue players that were active out there, and suddenly like it seems like as soon as I made mine, I guess a lot of other people had the same thought in mind, but I still feel like there are enough differences between my Yue and the other Yues that we can all coexist without problems. Anyway, I chose Yue because she seemed like she would be the easiest to interlace into other people's stories. With Hama, it would have been more difficult because first of all I'd have to do the explainy thing where it's like, oh, she's not old, she's young, and I don't really have a reason for that because I never developed her that far, but I would have had a reason, and it may or may not have been very cohesive with everything else, so I went with Yue. Plus, Ozai brought up a really good point when I was in the middle of trying to choose that Yue would be a lot easier to ship with people, and yeah, she is. Honestly, I probably shipped her with Sokka. And La, the ocean spirit, before I started role-playing her on Tumblr, and now I ship her with like, what, 10 people? I don't even know. But, I mean, I ship her with ships that I'd never even like I'd never even heard of before. So, I ship her with like Zuko now, and still Sokka and La, and Bolin, and Iroh the Second, and kind of Katara now even. I blame Shantara for that one. I don't know, and I'm still open to ships for this, but those are just, I kind of ship her with Earth King Kuwei as well. Whatever. But yeah, I chose her because I didn't want something complicated. This is a really casual blog, even though I kind of haven't been treating it very casually lately, but it's a really casual blog, and I didn't want to have to go through like the trudging through explanations like every time I wanted to use Hama, and I'm sure I could have gotten her established at some point, but so yeah, I chose Yue. Bean has also asked, why Zutara? Why not Zutara? I could waste so much of my life just explaining all the reasons why I love Zutara, Zuko and Katara in a relationship, romantically, by the way, for those who may not know, which is doubtful, but whatever. And I just, why not? Anyway, I guess I'll tell a story. So basically, I started watching Avatar: The Last Airbender when I was 16. I'm 23 now, for those of you who didn't look at my Mun page, which, not guilting you guys or anything, just putting some info out there. So I started watching it when I was 16, and I'd come home after school every day and I'd watch it, and they always had, I think by then they were finished with book 1, so they always had like a 2-episode like segment, like an hour-long like Avatar segment, leading through like book 2 at the time. And I came across the episode The Waterbending Scroll, and when I was 16 I had a very different idea of what intriguing relationships were. Basically, I watched this episode and they had me at I'll save you from the pirates. So I don't know, like I've always kind of been intrigued by darker relationships and darker kind of stories and things like that. And as I grew up and as I was watching this show more and more, my ideas of what healthy relationships and intriguing relationships are changed a lot, and Zutara changed with it. So it was almost like it was meant to be. Because first we have I'll save you from the pirates, and then they kick each other's asses at the North Pole, and there's their dynamic where they're both, by the end of book 1, they're pretty much on par skill level because Katara's a prodigy like everybody else except Zuko in that show. So, anyway, so the balance between them was intriguing to me as well, and where he's very quiet and angry and kind of a jerk, but he has a good heart, as opposed to Katara, who is kind and generous and giving, but she can, like, girl's got some anger issues or something. But they make a nice balance for each other, a nice contrast, and I feel like they bring things out in each other that nobody else can do for them. And this is just my personal opinion, and nobody has to agree with it. I'm not saying you have to. This is just me answering a question that I've been asked, and so keep calm and ship on peacefully. But yeah, and then book 2 hit, and they didn't really have like any interaction, but then Katara had that moment of kindness where she's like, oh dude, bro, I could heal your uncle, and she's like, rah! And then they didn't interact again until the Crossroads of Destiny, and they developed a kind of understanding for each other down there that I don't think that they'd ever had before, and it was kind of beautiful. And then Zuko had to go and ruin it all. Like, once he joins the gang, they have like the Zutara episode where he regains her forgiveness, and we see what a fucking giant badass Katara is when she's angry. Like, you do not want to get that girl's anger directed toward you. Anyway, but we see them working together for like the first time, and they're just kind of like beautiful together. And even after that, they're really supportive of each other after that, and they're just awesome. So I don't know, like they started out in a really unhealthy, intriguing Zutara kind of like dark way, and they ended on a really beautiful, sweet kind of like really healthy kind of relationship. And I would have liked for them to become canon, but I didn't get that, and instead I got Tenzin, and I like Tenzin, so I'm not complaining too much. I just Zutara. Bean's next question is, why me? And I think she's referring to herself, and I wasn't 100% sure what she meant by this question, but I interpreted it this way. How did I come to acknowledge Bean's existence and fangirl over her and become her friend? So basically, I'm gonna say magic and art. No, I went through a phase where I was trying to consume all Zutara art and the existence of Zutara, and on DeviantArt, and I went through and I found a bunch of her art and I really loved it. And then I joined Tumblr, and I found out that she had a Tumblr, so I started following her, and then she started doing live streams, and I was like really nervous at first, like, oh hey, live stream, and I'm like, oh, I can just lurk. And so I lurked, and then I stopped lurking and I started interacting, and it was a lot of fun, and I got to know Bean as a person, and she was fabulous. She's so nice, and she, even if she doesn't feel like she is, at least she treats people kindly, even if she may secretly harbor those thoughts. No, she treats people really kindly, and she doesn't act like she's better than them just because her art is better. So, and yeah, like I really have a lot of fun communicating with the Bean, and I'm really glad that I found her. Another question that Bean asked me is, if Jason Momoa were to walk in right now, what would you do? And I would probably freak out at first because, oh my god, there's like somebody walking into my house right now that isn't Jonathan or me. So first instinct would probably be to call the police. And then when I saw who it was, I would probably hyperventilate a bit and ask him what he was doing in my house, because it's still technically trespassing, even though he's beautiful and I want to touch him inappropriately. Maybe once I learned how to breathe again, and could treat him like a proper celebrity and fangirl over him right in his face, duh, I would probably ask him to call me Khaleesi just once. Not a queen, a Khaleesi. And maybe I would ask him to say Jalan Atieriani. In return, I would probably say Shema Shiriakiani, because I'm a giant dork and I love me some Game of Thrones. And Bean's final question is, would you like for me to draw you something? And if so, what? And to that I can only say squee, and then probably give some options. If you are feeling up to it, you could draw me Yue in some form or other, but I know that you're not very familiar with drawing Yue because usually it's Zutara or Tang, or Jetko. I think at one point there was a J, sorry, I guess it's pronounced J because Jet, May, whatever. But if the Yue thing is not something you want to do, or not something that you have the ambition or the muse to do, I don't know if it's still called a muse if you're drawing, but whatever. You could always draw me some Zutara. I love me some Domko. Never say no to the Domko, because damn. Or we could just go with the Zutara nose bump, because those are always really cute. Now we are on Freedom and Eyebrows, who is Katie, and she asked me, well, she asked me 2 other questions, but other people asked them too, so I answered them earlier in the video. She asked, do you think that Yue's death served as a good completion for her character arc? And, or do you think she would have been a crucial part of the gang had she survived? And I will say yes, and then I will say no. I will say yes to the fact that her death was a crucial part of her character arc, and I thought it was beautiful. She had the most beautiful death of anybody, the most beautiful character completion of anybody that I can recall, and well, at least in that universe. And I think it was really important, and it served a purpose. It was a really important purpose, and it was a great ending to the season, and I just really, yes, it was a really good completion for her story. And I don't think that she would have become a part of the gang. I think she would have, if she had survived. I think writing wise she probably just would have stayed, because she'd be a pretty useless character. She doesn't fight, and she like there's just no point to her being a part of the gang ever at all. It just wouldn't make sense, and she wouldn't really offer anything new or interesting to the gang. And I hate to say that about my own character, but it's just, I think that the way that they did it was the way that it should have been done, and they did the right thing with Yue's character. Katie's next question was, how long have you been role-playing? I like to pretend that I've been role-playing since I was 11 years old, but in reality I've been role-playing since I was 10. So that would be 13 years right there, baby. So the reason why I like to pretend that I've been role-playing only since I was 11 and not since I was 10 is because I had a really kind of horrible traumatic experience with my first time role-playing. Basically what happened is I was introduced to this chat service called IRC, and my mom introduced me to it because she talked to friends and stuff all the time on it, and there was like a kids section for it. So she introduced me to the kids section, and I met a boy there, and we started like playing pretend. At least that's what I considered it. I'd never heard of role-playing before. And we were doing really stupid kid stuff because we were little kid, or at least I was a little kid. I don't know how old this dude was. But I thought he was close to my age. And anyway, so we were pretending we were at a picnic, right? Something really sweet, innocent, and whatever. And he was a boy, and I was boy crazy. So yeah. We were writing that we were at a picnic, and I had never roleplayed before, so I didn't know what it was, and I thought it was something really stupid and silly, and I was like, I'm 10 years old, I don't need to be playing pretend. So when my mom walked in, I got embarrassed and I covered up the screen because I didn't want her to see me doing this really silly, like, stupid thing because I was supposed to be, like, practically an adult, right? And being that my mother was a very intelligent woman and that she wasn't exactly the greatest of kids in her youth, she immediately thought the worst of me, which, being a little kid, I think was valid. Little kids are shits. So she thought the worst of me, and so she tried to pry my hand away from the screen, and I fought. I was way too embarrassed about my like role playing, and so I fought her, and by the time my hand was removed from the screen, he had posted something else, and it had taken, like, it completely changed the nature of our role playing. It was something along the lines of we were eating ice cream, and his fell off of his cone down my shirt, and he said, "Shall I lick it off?" And while my mom was reading it, I had enough time to read it as well, and I was kind of horrified. Like, that was not at all the nature of our playing, and I had wanted no part of that, and I wasn't hiding it for that, but how could I tell my mother that at that point, right? I mean, she immediately, like, totally probably thought that that was exactly why I was covering the screen, even though that hadn't even been posted by the time when I covered up the screen. That was there after my hand was removed. It was like magic. And so, I mean, I didn't even bother because why should my mom believe me that that wasn't exactly why I was covering up the screen, right? So, in fact, sorry, she probably wouldn't have even looked over my shoulder if I hadn't covered up the screen. But yeah, so I was grounded and I didn't roleplay again for quite a while. Several months at least. But yeah, that was my first role-playing experience, and it was traumatic, and I'm surprised I ever went back to role-playing, but I'm glad I did. Katie asked, what brought you to role-playing on Tumblr? I've role-played on pretty much every play-by-post platform that I can think of off the top of my head. I have role-played in chat rooms and instant messaging, which are my least favorite, and I have role-played on forums, and I've done journal style role-playing, and so basically I've been a part of this forum that is mostly about role-playing, or at least that's its primary purpose, but it is sort of, it's in the throes of death. And so I don't know, like I hadn't roleplayed in months, and I had the urges for it, but my forum is dying. So and I mean, I started roleplays in that forum like not that long ago, and they just never got anywhere because everybody's just like, meh, I'm busy, or like this or that or the other thing, and so there just really wasn't anywhere for me to roleplay, and every now and then I just really crave it. And anyway, on Tumblr with my personal blog, which is Catherine Lacey, I am following some roleplay blogs. I think the Fire Lord Zuko and former Princess Ursa and T-Bender Zuko and ex-Fire Lord Ozai. I feel like I said that one already. Maybe I didn't. But anyway, so I'm following a bunch of roleplay blogs, and it seems really like casual, and there's a lot you can do with it, and so I was just kind of like, maybe I'll try this, except that I don't know that I should, because I don't know that I really understand it, and I'm not really sure that I'd be good enough or that I'd have a good enough character, because The only character from Avatar that I've ever really actively roleplayed as is Katara, and she's easy to roleplay as because her personality is really similar to mine, except that she likes children and I hate them. So I don't know, like I always roleplayed as like Katara, and there are quite a few Kataras and they're very good Kataras, and I didn't want to step on toes and I didn't want to also be shoved off into a corner where I was unnoticed. So I chose a character who seemed like she didn't have quite as many Muns attached to that one character, and I tried to put a new spin on my character so that I wouldn't really be stepping on anybody's toes, and I decided to go for it, and it has turned out to be quite a lot of fun. Especially, like, I don't know, like I really love doing memes and the magic anon. And Katie's final question is, what is your favorite episode of Avatar? And this is really hard. So my first instinct is to say The Boiling Rock, but The Boiling Rock is 2 episodes, even though it's technically like a continuation, like 2 that flow into each other, but I feel like that's cheating. So I'm gonna go with the Southern Raiders. It's the ultimate Zutara episode, and I'm such a hardcore Zutara shipper, and the artwork in it is beautiful. We see sides to the characters that we haven't actually seen that frequently at all, and it's an episode that has like a lot of really great character development. It has a purpose and it's not just filler, and it was fun and exciting and dramatic, and it made me feel all sorts of things. And oh my god, that scene with well, hello, and then the like, I can't even articulate anything anymore. It was just, oh my god, that's probably like the funniest scene in all of Avatar. But yeah, the Sokka, Suki, Zuko thing was just too funny, and it's just like you had the comedy and the drama and like the intensity of it all. It was just, and you get to see Katara bloodbend willingly, and I love it. My friend Gadrail, shit, I think I mispronounced that. She told me how to pronounce it once. It sounds kind of elvishy to me, but I think it's Gadrail. Gadrail? Well, her real name is Brenna, so whatever. Brenna has asked me, will you ever cosplay as Yue? And I don't know. I've been wanting to cosplay as Yue since I was 16, because I found out really after cosplaying as Magenta from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, I realized that I fucking hate wigs, and I'm not willing to dye my hair darker than it is now. I'm willing to go lighter if I can, but I don't need to go too much lighter for Yue. Just have to make it less yellow, I guess. And I'm totally down with hair extensions, so that would be fine. And I have found her dress. I just need money to get it, and also I'm not willing to buy it until I have all of like her accessories, because my weight fluctuates quite a bit. So anyway, I have Yue's necklace, her betrothal necklace, because I decided it would probably be a lot easier to cosplay as living Yue than Moon Spirit Yue. And this is, I don't know if I can get it to focus. Come on, focus. I guess you can kind of see it. Yeah, so this is her betrothal necklace. And there was a shop on Etsy, and I think it's like Wind of Stars or Wind and Stars. I can't remember. I just remember that she's a cosplayer herself, and she does like a lot of like Sailor Moon and like Marvel and DC characters as her cosplays. And she had Katara's necklace, her mother's necklace, on there. And I also saw like an, I don't know how I found it, but like she'd passed, she'd sold this necklace in the past, so, but she wasn't currently selling it. So I messaged her and I asked her if she would make the Yue one again, and she said she would, and I bought it for like 20 bucks or something. I don't even remember if it was that much. It may have been like 15, but maybe 20 after like shipping and handling. I can't remember. But so I I have this and I cannot find those fucking hair pieces to save my life. Like, holy shit. It's like the ones that I find, I found one person who makes them and sells them, and they're just kind of okay. But they are not, I don't know, I messaged the seller once and the person never, well actually I've messaged the seller several times over a long span of time. I wasn't like harassing this person, and they never responded to me even once. So anyway, like, I don't know, I want something that's at least as quality as this, because this looks good to me. The size of it is pretty, like, pretty good, and it's, I don't know, like, I would like hair pieces that were just as quality as this, but I asked the seller who did this if she made the hair pieces, and she said nope, and so I was fucked. And so yeah, I can't find the freaking hair pieces anywhere ever, and I'm not crafty, and yeah. So really my main thing with that has been that I just can't find those hair pieces. I can find the dress, already have the necklace, the hair pieces elude me, and I don't know, I mean, I guess there's the occasion when I could probably have asked somebody to make them for me. I think like I found one person ever, and I didn't like the way they looked that much. Like, I think it's great that people can make stuff, and I'm not saying that they did a bad job. It just wasn't what I was hoping for, so I didn't ask to have them made for me, or sold to me, whatever. So yeah, I hope in the future one day I can cosplay as Yue before I get old. Too old to do it, really, because I'm pretty sure once I hit like mid-20s I'll probably look too old to do it unless I continue to age gracefully. I don't know. And even if I could, like, right now find somebody who would sell them to me, like make them and sell them to me, I could probably afford those, but I would not be able to afford like the $100 dress. So the final questions of the hour come from Sugar Queen Shantara again, and they were about Fezzik, my rabbit. She asked, what's living with Fezzik like? And do you like rabbits better than cats or dogs? And I'm just gonna kind of answer them together because they're related. I have had cats and dogs in the past, and I have learned that my preference in an animal comes from whatever animal I've had as a pet last. When I had a dog, I preferred dogs, and when I had a cat, I preferred cats, and now that I have a rabbit, I prefer rabbits. It's totally biased, but I will admit that there are things that I prefer about other animals than rabbits, but there are things I prefer about rabbits. So for instance, I have litter box trained my rabbit. It was, maybe it took a week, I don't know, but he got the hang of it really fast. Having a dog is nice, but the thing about it is that I'm not an outdoorsy person, and having a dog kind of requires me to be an outdoorsy person, because it's cruel to like keep a dog cooped up in the house all day, where I should be taking them on walks. That doesn't appeal to me. But dogs are really loving, and they're sweet, and they're easy to train, and all that fun stuff. Having cats is nice because then I don't ever have to go outside, and they're easy. Like, they're probably some of the lowest maintenance animals, unless you have a long-haired cat, and then it's just like, oh, it sucks to be you. They litter box train, and all you have to do is feed them and change the litter box and give them a couple of toys, and like, you're pretty much good to go. With a cat, and because they are very independent and they take care of themselves, they can be pretty much anywhere in the house. You just have to kind of watch out for your furniture. With rabbits, I can't just have, well, I mean, even with dogs, like, you can have them like roam around like all the time, wherever they want in the house. With rabbits, you can't really have that. You have to like supervise them whenever they're out of their cages, and it's harder. It's a lot harder work, definitely, in that respect, that we can't just let him out to play forever and always. We have to watch him closely because he'll try to eat the carpet. Like, he succeeded a couple of times, but he has only eaten like a fiber at a time, and it's just that if a rabbit eats too much fiber, they can cause a blockage in their digestive tract and they can die. And Fezzik chews things pretty indiscriminately. he chews things that he really shouldn't, like treated wood and all sorts of stuff, but we have provided him lots of toys and lots of cardboard, and he's got like these chew balls, and he has lots of hay and all sorts of stuff. Like, he's pretty well provided for. He even has a phone book. Like, he's a spoiled rabbit. He's really well provided for in like the toy department, and like things that he can chew and dig on, but he still just like will go after other things. We have bunny teeth marks all over our like wooden molding now. If he gets mad at us, like if we don't let him into a room, he'll chew the carpet in front of the door, because he knows they're doors. Like, even before he knew there was a room back there, like he knew that doors could open. Like, he's a really smart rabbit, but when he's mad at us, he'll chew the carpet, and because he knows we don't like it. What he doesn't realize is that we care more about him eating it than we care about him chewing it. Like, we don't want him to do it because it's bad, but it's like bad behavior and whatever, and carpet probably isn't that much fun to replace. But mostly, like, we don't want him to do it because we don't want him to hurt himself, and he doesn't realize that because he doesn't speak our language. So yeah, but rabbits are trainable, like a cat or a dog, probably more so than a cat even. Less easy than a dog, easier than a cat, and I have found things like I can clicker train him. As soon as I'm able to start giving him vegetables, I'm going to start training him. The reason why I can't give him vegetables yet is that he's still technically a baby, and so it could upset his digestive system. Once he's 4 months old, which is in like 2 weeks, 2 weeks on Tuesday. Yeah, when I will be able to start giving him vegetables. And the first thing I'm going to give him are dandelions, because our backyard is overflowing with dandelions. And the breeder told us that rabbits love dandelions so much that they will uproot them. And when he's 4 months old, I want to start being able to take him outside as well. And on a leash with a body harness. And so he can have dandelions and eat them all he wants. But yeah, he is really sweet, and I really love him, even though he's a sassy little biznatch, and he is really funny, and I don't know, like he realizes he's cute, and so he manipulates me, which is acceptable because he does it in a really cute way. This is Fezzik. He is my Flemish giant, and he's eating my hair. What are you doing, honey? What are you doing, Fezzik? Yeah, come here. He is a big boy. He is a Flemish giant, and he's a little under... Come here. Come here. He's a little under 4 months old, and he's sassy, and he doesn't... Aw, he's licking me because I'm top rabbit. And now he's gone.